I read another new to me author. Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Now I'm back with another historical romance author guide video. For this video, I'm talking about a new to me author called Amelia Gray, and basically she doesn't write under the publisher of Avon Romance, which is very different for me because I tend to always lean towards Avon historical romances. I tend not to break away and go to a different publisher, mostly because I know that with Avon books, I'm getting like the style that I want, the characterization that I want, the writing that I want, and I get very nervous when I branch out to different publishers because obviously different publishers have different criteria. Now, Amelia Gray actually publishes under St. Martin's Press, and I've read a lot of contemporaries from St. Martin's Press, but never the historical romances. So I was excited to pick up this series that I've had on my shelves for a very, very long time that was collecting dust. So this series is actually called the Heirs Club of Scoundrels, and it's a trilogy, and then 3 books are here, and I'm just going to go quickly into the books and tell you what my thoughts are. So the first book in the series is called The Duke in My Bed, and Amelia Gray is an author that I've seen a lot on like my feeds, and I've seen her on my Goodreads, and I know who she is, but I never read her books before, so this was my first ever book that I read from her, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This one follows a hero who is kind of like a bad boy hero. He likes to make a lot of bets. Sometimes it's very like dangerous wagers. So what happens is that he challenges our heroine's older brother into like this carriage ride race. So it's kind of like, you know, racing your cars, but back in the olden days. And then what happens is that our heroine's brother dies from racing his carriage. And then our hero makes a promise to him that he would take care of his younger sisters and also marry the oldest sister in the family. And he doesn't want to obviously agree to things like this because he's a bad boy. He doesn't want to be locked down by a wife. But then afterwards, he's seeing that he was kind of like the cause of this guy's death. He makes this commitment and he swears by it before the older brother actually passes away. So then afterwards, now our hero is there to really kind of like redeem himself and to kind of follow through with the swearing that he did. Our heroine definitely doesn't want to do anything with him and doesn't want to marry him at all, mostly because she would rather be a spinster than to marry someone that she doesn't love. And then also because she is the eldest now, she feels like she really needs to take care of her, I think like her 5 younger sisters, and they're all like different varying of ages, so they all need like a specific attention towards, and she's a very motherly figure, so she really wants to make sure that they're being taken care of. She knows that if she gets married, then basically she is going to be ripped away from her family, and then her family wouldn't have her anymore, and she definitely can't do that to the family after the brother's death. So our hero has the duty of kind of coming in here, seducing her, but also making sure that she is growing trust within him, that he's not going to abandon the family and that he's going to take everybody in. So the story was very loving and very touching in that way, mostly because our heroine really is very stubborn. She's very strong-willed. She built a lot of walls up to protect herself after the incident, and also because everything that's also happening, she needs to be a very strong person. Our hero kind of comes in and kind of lends a helping hand, but then afterwards you see him kind of melting his hard shell exterior, and then he's growing to becoming a very big softie. So if you guys are into characters who are very gruff and who are really big softies inside, they're marshmallows inside, then you're definitely going to really enjoy this book. I gave this one a 5 out of 5 stars. So the next book in the series is called The Earl Claims a Bride, and I really like the cover of this one. Deep greens, deep blues, anything. So rich, so beautiful. So this one kind of follows the story of our main hero who is kind of like told that he needs to marry someone right now by the prince himself, or else he's gonna like lose everything and his life is just gonna be meaningless afterwards. What's worse is that the prince already selected the wife for him, so then now it's his duty to kind of seduce the wife so that they can kind of go into this marriage together and be happy with each other. Our main heroine actually doesn't want to be with anybody herself. Like, she's really fully independent and she wants to rebel against this royal order. So they both kind of come up with this like plan to kind of like go against the royal order, but also secretly falling in love with each other. This one was definitely not as breaking and like touching and like loving as the first book in the series. This one actually made me cry a lot, because not cry a lot, but this one definitely like hurt my heart a lot, mostly because it dealt a lot with like family and like the pushing and pulling. Both characters wanted to do things, but they couldn't do things because they were stuck in these situations. Meanwhile, this one was just kind of like falling into like kind of like a silly category. It didn't really blend well with this novel, and honestly these books can be read as standalone, so I thought that this one deviated a lot from the first book in the series and really deviated from the tone that Amelia Gray was setting. So this one I only gave it an average 3 out of 5 stars, and honestly it took kind of like a long time for me to finish this book. So the last book in the series is called Wedding Night with the Earl, and after reading the second book in the series, giving it 3 out of 5 stars, I was kind of really dragging my feet to read the third book, mostly because I know that I'm scared that I'm going to go from like a downhill, like the first book being like a 5 out of 5 stars, and then we're going to slowly inch forward down. I was wondering if this one was going to save the series, and if you've watched it yet, after I read my Sophie Barnes novels, where it started off with a 4, we went to a 2, and then we ended off strong with another 4, I thought maybe Amelia Gray could mimic Sophie Barnes and the way that I'm rating it, so I thought this one was going to be a huge pickup. Unfortunately, this one I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, mostly because I just did not care for these characters. These characters definitely lacked a lot of chemistry. What happens in this book is that basically our hero is scarred. He's traumatized from his childhood. Well, not childhood, but his young adulthood, and that's why I thought that this book would be one of my favorites, but it quickly like ended off bad. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, our main hero is married to someone at a very young age, and she was giving birth to their very first child. The child died in birth, and then afterwards she died in childbirth too. So that now he has nothing in his life. He lost the love of his life, or so he thinks, and then he doesn't want to marry again. He doesn't want to start a new family because he doesn't want to put someone else through that traumatic pain and also like that danger. What happens is that he meets our heroine, who is very young and very innocent. She's fiercely independent, and she is off to kind of like do her own thing, but then they have their attraction to each other, and this is kind of like their romance. Like I said, this book kind of like went into a little like messy towards the end. It was very boring, it was very dry, and I just did not care for our main heroine. I felt like that she was very plain. So this one, 2 out of 5 stars. So overall, do you think that I would recommend you to read the series? I definitely don't recommend you to pick up the series if you guys already see my rating so far, and if you guys read the synopsises and they were not interesting. But I do recommend you to pick up the first book, which is The Duke in My Bed, and this one is definitely like one of my favorites, something that I would absolutely recommend to you. I absolutely just love our main heroine, who really wants to take care of the family, and then the sisters involved were also really funny too. I found myself laughing a lot while reading this novel, so definitely recommend you pick this one up and skip the rest of the 2. Now the question is, will I read any more Amelia Gray novels? Honestly, like I do want to give her a try, because she has published a lot of novels ever since this series, and this might one have been her like first series that she's ever written. Maybe she has improved, maybe she hasn't, but we shall see if any of her novels in the future kind of pique my interest. But until then, I'll see you guys next time with another video. Bye.